I said, are you ready? Let's get ready to suck it!
Welcome back to League World Order LWO episode 3, and I am here not with Chris. It's Curtis Woodward. For anyone that saw the for the few hours it was up last week, I've had a Barry Crocker and had Curtis as Chris Woodward, but I will not make that mistake again. The great man Curtis Woodward. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. And look, like I said off air, I don't blame you. You had a huge week back, starting with the Paul Gallen fight down in Newcastle. Then you're back up to Brisbane for Magic round. So, mate, I don't blame you, buddy. Like I say, I've been called worse, but it's going to be back episode 3. So let's rock and roll.
Mate, who would have thought we'd make it to 3 episodes? But here we are, mate. And honestly, it's one of the best part of my every second Wednesday, because Wednesday nights we record, get it out on Thursday morning, but we get to sit here, enjoy a beer, talk a bit of footy chat, but ultimately some wrestling chat, which I love dearly. So, mate, looking forward to it. But hey, it's been a couple of weeks. What have you been doing, mate? What have you been getting around the 81st minute, which I haven't actually said anything about, which I apologise, but for anyone listening, Curtis runs the 81stminute.com. All your league news run by him. So get in, check it out, and follow him on all the socials as well. So, but mate, yeah,
you, mate.
What has been happening,
mate? I don't want to go too far into it, but the wife has been in and out of hospital with some surgeries, but nothing too severe. She's out and she's good to go and she's okay. But I want to talk about what have you been doing? Like I said before, you were down for the Newcastle fight with Gallen. We were both saying, "Oh, Gallen's going to win." I think you got the tip, or you tipped Gallen round 5 TKO, and I said, "Oh, Gallen will win. He'll go the distance." But gutsy bugger, and that was the start of a big few days for you, wasn't it,
mate? It was. Fucking wrote myself off. Like, I didn't get home till like 4:30 the next morning. I get a phone call at like 5 to 9. The bus is leaving at 9 o'clock. They're like, "Are you jumping on the bus?" I'm like, yeah, just give me 5 minutes. And mate, a quick shower just to wake me up. And I was dead set. I packed my bag. I had a shower, packed my bag, and was down in 5 minutes. I don't know how I fucking did it. But
so did you do a bus from Newcastle to Brisbane?
No. Bus from, so I flew from Parkes to Sydney, and then jumped on a bus from Sydney to Newcastle, stayed in Newcastle, and then bus back to Sydney the next day.
Oh fuck!
And then flew home back to Parkes. Got home at like
that's a proper
o'clock.
wrestler. That's a proper wrestler,
isn't it? Like, if I had the experience,
on the roads, brother.
I had the experience of a wrestler going from, one side of the country to the
next.
Yeah, because it was crazy, but good fun. Didn't see the kids for like 4 days. But
is that bad or good?
Yeah, it's a mixture. I do when I'm away for the day, I have fun, but then ultimately I miss them, and I let them down because I said I'd video call them and I didn't, and they were quite upset. But I hate letting them down. But it was good fun. Yeah, the start on the Gallen fight on the Wednesday night. Massive night. It was great to be there, be part of the action. We got up close and personal, which was awesome. Got in the ring, threw a punch to Georgie Rose, mate. He's a big, scary man. I would not want to get on the wrong side of him. But yeah, watched all the fights. It was a great night. They put on such a good show.
Absolutely.
If you're, this isn't a promo for them or anything, but if you get a chance to go because they're doing great things. I'm a casual boxing fan. I'm not a religious guy or anything like that. I just watch it when it's on. But the shows they're putting on, the fighters that they've got in their stables are A+. So when you can, jump in and watch it live because it is quite a spectacle. But young Zoo came out. How about this, to the Undertaker's music?
Saw that. Yeah.
He didn't walk very slow. He walked very fast, but it was absolutely brilliant. Like, and I love this incorporation into other sports. We talked about it the last episode. Footy players having walkout music. Boxers having wrestlers' music is fucking up there as one of the best things about that whole show. Watched him just annihilate his opponent, and then Harry Garside just going toe to toe with old mate, and I think what was it, KO in the ninth or the seventh or ninth? Yeah, last round.
And he impressed me big time, man.
Yeah, and he picked that round too. So he said that, and yeah, I had Gallen to win, but mate, he is one tough motherfucker. Like I
was inboxing you that night. I was inboxing you that night saying Gallen was off his feet, like, and he looked old. And I don't want to say Gallen looked like he was defeated before the fight, but he didn't look like the confident Gallen that we were used to.
Yep.
But he got in there and he was buckled and he was fucked. And I'm going, oh man, just don't, because like there's a bit of New South Wales state of origin about Gallen's representing us, especially against a Victorian boxer as well. This guy, and then Barry Hall and that, and he just came back in that ninth round, and it really, well, I think I said to you, it was like Rocky Balboa. Like he just, he's fucked now, but I don't think he should fight again. But that's a great last stand, and I think in the pre-show with Matt Damon, it was like a main event free show. Gallen was sitting there, and Garside was saying, God bless Paul Gallen, because he actually cares about boxing, and he's putting us guys on the map. So good on the Rose brothers, good on Paul Gallen. And now all these kids that are going to be selling pay-per-views for us the next 10 years is because of people like Paul Gallen. So good on Gal.
100%. Yeah, whether you agree with what he, his footy career and some of the stuff he did, doesn't matter. When he's in that boxing, it's just him and what he's done. I backed him since he started boxing, because I wasn't a huge fan of him when he was playing, but that's a different thing. When he's in there, it's a different story, and I've cheered him on every way. But I think I'm with you. I think he might have had his last fight, but
he might take one more pay, but
one big payday.
If he loses, he's going to get dropped in the second, and then what do we say? The last thing we remember Paul Gallen in the boxing ring is that he got knocked out in the second round by a Sonny Bill or someone else.
Yeah,
He'll probably take it, but good on him either way.
But hey, an interesting thing, I ran into Warren Smith. I had a gut full of schooners, but I did ask him because a follower mentioned, we said, I think in the first episode, how WWE and WCW on Fox Sports back in the day, and it was we said it was hosted by Andy Raymond, and they said, no, it wasn't. It was hosted by the Blue Avenger, which was rumoured to be Warren Smith. So I went up and asked him.
I don't know this part. I just remember Andy Raymond, so you need to fill me in.
I know, and so do I. I don't know whether it's like one of those, what is it, the Mandela effect or whatever it is. I'm just like, I remember Andy Raymond doing it. And I think he was a part of it in some way, but the host, the start of the show, to promote it, was this character called the Blue Avenger. For some reason, whenever they say that, I keep on thinking of Owen Hart's what
Blue
was
Blazer.
The Blue Blazer, right? But
which he did at the start of his career, and then
correct, and then he brought it back, and he was in it in the tragic night he passed away. But he, I was speaking to Warren, and Warren's a bit of a storyteller, so I started talking to him, not knowing that we were about to go on this tour backstage, and they're waiting. And I said, "Oh, just give me 1 minute." And Warren just pulls me up, and he's like, "Okay, let me tell you." And I'm just like, "Oh shit, I've only got like 1 minute. Just can you tell me?"
He's a tall bugger too, eh?
He is.
Yeah,
he was leaning over, and he was still like a foot above me. But and I'm just like, I felt like saying, "Mate, can you just tell me, was it you?" But he was telling me how they had this great idea that they would have this character, the Blue Avenger, come out and present the show. And whoever he said, organised it for him. But yes, he confirmed it was him. He was the Blue Avenger that presented, I think it was WWF on Fox Sports back in the day.
Yeah, so, it wasn't WWE till like mid-2002.
Yeah. So it was WWF, and I don't think it was WCW, right? I don't think, because that was on TNT. But 100% confirmed. So whoever that was, if you're listening now, just come back at us what you know about it, because I can confirm that it was Warren Smith as the Blue Avenger, which was...
So Warren Smith gave up his character under the mask, which is very un-Lucha Libre to give up your mask and
Correct.
tell people who.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a big call.
Maybe I've just stopped him in. Maybe I'm in trouble. Hopefully the Blue Avenger doesn't come visit me in Parks.
No, mate, it would work. It would work.
But yeah, so if whoever replied to that, and I can't find the tweet. If you're listening, we'd love for you to just come at us and just say what you know about us, what you know about it. And
some footage would be awesome too.
I tried to do a search, I couldn't find anything. So
all right, I'll make a note and I'll have a look myself. Blue Avenger.
But
all right, written down. I'll have a look tomorrow.
But yeah, then on to came home for a day. Back up to Brizzy for Magic Round. Flew up there on the Friday, and went straight to the Caxton Street, straight to the stadium, and enjoyed 8 full games of football all weekend. It was, mate, I tell you what, people saying, oh, they should move it here, move it there, do this, do that. They just do not need to change a thing about it. It is perfect. I said it was the second best.
Did you watch all 8 games?
We went to all 8 games. We like it. We think it's a challenge, right?
Oh, I don't think I could do 8 games.
Yeah. Your back's
off and just sit at the pub.
Your back's fucked by Sunday, right? Because you're sitting in those chairs. But it's just we love it. We just love the challenge. And when I've got a mate who's a little bit older than me. A couple of guys that are younger, and it was a good mix. Some wanted to stay out, some went home, whatever it was. But yeah, we get into the CAX early on the Saturday. Spend a few hours there, head to the games, home early on the Saturday night, but the Sunday is a ripper day and night. Caxton, because a lot of people are buggered. We were sitting, it was funny. There was these kids to the right of us in the same line. Every time we walk past them, we go down to get a beer, they try and trip us or push us or whatever, and we're just like, stop being fuckheads.
Did you knock them out?
No, we didn't want to start the Royal Rumble on the Friday night, but we're just like, mate, you just stop. You don't. Someone's going to slip and fall down the stairs, so just cut it out. And they'll just been annoying, right, all weekend. But come Sunday, we're just sitting there, still not fresh. We're a bit rusty after 2 days on the piss, but we're like ready to go. Day 3, yeah, here we go. And you see these kids, and they're sitting there with these red faces, their eyes half closed, not look like they're drinking water.
Oh, so when you say kids, they're actually adults, but they're actually just
sorry, kids as in like 18, 19, right? And they're just going way too hard on the Friday and Saturday night, can't handle it, and you're like, mate, these are fucking amateurs. Go away. You are trying to annoy people, and you can't even handle your piss, so fuck off.
Well, I already mentioned that I haven't been up there yet because of COVID and other things as well. But I'm going up there next year, and I've already told the missus because she likes the footy, but she likes being around the footy more than being at the footy.
Yep.
So I said, look, we can be up there the whole weekend. We can skip a day, or if you don't want to come one day, then I'll just go and watch a couple of games. But I reckon I would have to have a break, just somewhere in there, maybe even the Saturday Arvo 5:30 game or something. Go off, slip out of the ground, and go and sit at a pub for a couple of hours. Put some money into a lucky 88.
Yep.
And just chill out. I don't think I could do 8 straight games. So you're a mad man for sitting there and doing that. But
I would love to know if anyone's listening. If you went up to Magic Round, because I put out a poll. I was like, for people going to Magic Round, what are you doing? 1 day, 2 days, or all 3? Because for me, I know.
Because you can buy different days apparently as well.
You can just go, I just want, Friday, or even a 3, like it's not expensive. You get a 3-day pass, it's not expensive. So get a 3-day pass, because then you might want to go, your team might be playing that 3 o'clock on the Saturday. So you go watch that and you might leave. You might get to the CAX early and get a spot. Or, you might want to, stay at the CAX all afternoon and then just go for the late Saturday game, whatever it is. But for us, we had that middle game. Like the Dragons had the middle Friday game, so we wanted to be there for that. So we went there for the first one, stayed for Panthers Storm. It was probably the talk of the game of the round. And then we had guys that were West Tigers supporters, so they wanted to stay, for Sunday all through that. So we were like, we just don't want to miss it. We like the challenge, like I said. So, but the Royal Rumble in the stands. Did you see the fight footage of the Royal Rumble So where we were up in the top deck, and it was right underneath us where it was. Everyone stand up, and I'm like, what the fuck are they looking at? I can't see shit. And they're like, it's just down there. So I saw the footage. A lot of clubs represented in that. But it went viral. There was people all over the world looking at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good look, and when you hear the details of it, which is basically, and for Manly Seagulls fans, they'll remember from the early or the late 80s and 90s, their utility forward Owen Cunningham was the actual bloke in the what do you call it, the shoulder
or the shoulder charge. Yep.
No, well, he had his arm in a sling. Sorry. So that was him in the sling that kept getting pushed over the chairs.
Oh,
and that
okay,
was his son in the fight. So that was Owen Cunningham. And that was his son next to him. And basically it came out in news the next couple of days after that they knew from the moment they sat down for the first game that these wankers that were sitting behind them, they weren't there to watch the football. They were already blind drunk. And we're talking about maybe the start of the second game Friday night. So obviously their guys had been around the Brisbane CBD for many hours. And they're the ones that started the fight. So, and then Cunningham and his son, they're fighting up. Cunningham, who wasn't known as a fighter on the field, but I mean, he's there with his kid. He's got a sling on, and he's trying to stop a fight. And he even said in the news report, I knew as soon as we sat down that something bad was going to happen.
Yeah.
And these blokes, I know they're all in different jerseys, but they weren't there to watch the football. And I hope they, I honestly hope that, I don't know what's happened yet, but I hope that Suncorp Stadium, the NRL, and the local Queensland government, whoever it is, and the police can work together to sort out who these blokes are, because that's no good. And it's a horrible look. It really is.
It is, yeah.
And you talk about, and look, what one thing has rugby league over other sports, particularly in Australia, and I'm not going to single out soccer because soccer fans and the A-League gets a horrible rap, particularly from Victorian journalists who just hate the game and just go, oh, look, it's wogs with flames and, all that shit. That's crap. Soccer fans are just as good as rugby league fans, and the AFL have got a lot to work on. But you can't defend what we saw. So that was shocking. That was really shit. And I hope those blokes get pulled up and, if at the bare minimum, they get heavy fines and get banned from Suncorp Stadium for a long time. Because, that's not good for us. And look, I said on Twitter, I think I retweeted, it was like baseball crowd fights from America. And they've got like 150,000 followers. And they picked it up. And they got like 1,000 retweets or something like that. So, in one sense, it's like, oh, cool, America, yeah, da-da-da. But we don't need that in our game. And not a good look when you've got kids and women, there. And at the start of the weekend, too. Not good. No.
And I spoke with some guys that run a podcast out of the Caxton on the Sunday. And I said, apart from we went up and got a kebab on the Friday night, and there was a fight up there at the top end of Caxton Street. Apart from that, they were the only two incidences I saw.
It's usually really good, mate. Honestly,
there was a few. I saw people getting dragged away by security, and maybe a few light scuffles, not major ones like that. But that's all I saw is those two, right? And they said it's been so good this year. There's been hardly any incidents apart from those two. So when you've got that many people in the one area for sport, all drinking a shitload of piss.
Yeah,
there's gonna be arguments.
And statistically speaking, if you put a random 100 people from all over Australia into one circle and give them alcohol, doesn't matter who they are, there's going to be always a random statistical small portion that are fuckwits.
Yep, and they want to punch on. There's going to be a fight.
Yeah,
but,
of course,
mate. Apart from that, I thought the footy was good. The ground held up. And
the best ratings on Australian TV for rugby league in months.
There you go.
So on average, every game, it was the biggest rating boom for Fox Sports for 12 months or something. So it's not just an event for people there, it's selling on TV too.
Yes.
Which is good.
Good spectacle. Plenty of people in the crowd, and that looks good on TV. So don't fuck with it. Just keep it the way it is. I'm happy to go to Brisbane every year. I just don't see it working in Sydney. I don't see it. I don't know a place that's going to work. I don't see it working anywhere else. I don't know much about the stadiums and the area in New Zealand, but I'm just like, just fucking keep it there. Build it up so it's a spectacle every single year. Keep it like, we get the grand final, they get Magic Round. Just keep it that way and work out other ways for other things. So
I think that the one thing that we can leave our hat on is that it won't go and I don't care what the NRL says, but the Queensland government knows how much money goes into the local tourism and local restaurants for that weekend.
Yep.
They made $5-10 million off the weekend.
Yep.
So their investment is, I don't care what Peter Valendi says or the NRL, that's staying in Brisbane. It's not going to go anywhere. Auckland deserves something for what the Warriors have gone through, but it won't be Magic Weekend for a long time.
Yeah. On to just a couple of games that we spoke about in our matchup. What sort of matches would they be if we did Magic Round as a pay-per-view card, wrestling pay-per-view card? Now, the Intercontinental title, it changed hands. So congrats to the new champions, which are the Roosters. They beat the Eels at Magic Round. So they're
How long do they keep it for?
So here's the thing, right? They keep it. I've worked out because I was like, how do we work it so it's competitive? Now, they played the Panthers the following week, but the Panthers are considered the champions, right? The world champs. They can't.
Yeah, they're okay. So
you can't. What I'm
terms, they're champions for the year.
Correct. What I'm saying is, when a team, if you're an Intercontinental champion, you come up against the world champion, you're not putting the title on the line. So the Roosters are still champions. They will. Who have they got? The Sharks this week. That's the Intercontinental Championship.
So they're the linear champions.
Correct. Yep.
All right. Well, that that actually makes some sense.
Makes sense. Yep.
Let's say the Panthers are the defending champions, but there's So
they don't fight for a title during the year. They can't.
They're Triple H on Raw in 2002.
Correct.
And we're talking world champion on SmackDown because Triple H doesn't work Tuesdays.
100%. That is right. So we'll go with that.
You're the boss, mate.
I'm the boss? Okay, I'll make the rule. I'm Vince McMahon. Fuck yes. We're going to get some title music. No chance. But what I'm installing as well, we had the matchup of the Sharks v. the Raiders, and we said that would be the hardcore title match if we had a hypothetical one. And I just love this thing of carrying on titles. So what I'm doing is installing the Raiders as the hardcore champions. And since they won last week in round 11, they're still the hardcore champions. They'll defend it this week. Now, how they defend it, what constitutes a hardcore title match? Now, I have to say they can't be defending it every week, right? It's only the hardcore has a special meaning. It's like the guys that aren't top notch, and it's like the gritty teams, the ones that are fighting it out all the time. So what it is they'll only defend it if they come up against a team outside the top 8.
Okay.
So this week, who have they got this week?
I don't know.
They've got they're the final game, aren't they? They got the Eels, so they're not defending it this week. Okay,
you know what just went through my head? The old, apart from the 24/7 title, which we've got now with what's his name now? Ron Killings, R-Truth.
Yep, R-Truth.
The old hardcore title,
one with duct tape and. It was the old winged eagle.
But there could be pins anywhere, but like Molly Holly could pin hurricane helmets and all that shit. Imagine Ricky Stewart, he's getting interviewed during the week by like ABC Canberra radio or something, and then someone hits him over the back of the fucking head, and Don Fern, the CEO, takes the title, and there's a referee behind him who goes, 1, 2, 3. That's got nothing to do with what you're talking about, but that just went through my head.
Just went through. That's good. I would love if they did that. I don't know if it'll happen, but it would be funny.
Isn't Ricky Stewart the chairman? He's kicked that many chairs. He could be just walking around with a steel chair. Oh,
it is. It is him walking around. He's kicked that many plastic chairs that he's worked up. Now it's just steel chairs. It's
sticky steel chair.
Steel chair sticky. I love it. We're just starting out nicknames on all the guys. But so anyway, yeah, the Intercontinental champion is still the Roosters. They'll only defend it when, just not against the Panthers. I don't think it's fair that they can take a smaller title and keep it when they're the top champs and the hardcore champs. The Raiders.
It would be interesting to see how that works by the end of the year because, I mean, imagine like our linear Intercontinental champion comes up against the Panthers in the grand final. That might actually make some sense.
Yeah, it could be massive. Or, if it's a team that happens to upset top 8 side that's not playing finals, then come round 2025, it's over and done with.
Could be.
Yeah.
And then with all the advertising money that NRL Roast is making, they can pay for the belt that it sends out of the club.
It'll be a very cheap belt from Kmart. So depending on the result this week, if the Roosters lose, they'll be outside the top 8. Next week, the Raiders could be defending against the Roosters. If not,
Good matchup.
They've got the Broncos the following week, who are in the top 8. You might have to wait until the Knights in round 15. So anyway, stay tuned for that one. A little bit of fun. Keep some interesting parts in the show. But
well, it keeps Knights fans alive. There's something for them.
Something to look forward to. You know, hey, we've got a hardcore title championship from the LWA guys. Huge achievement, mate. Round 11. Let's go on that. I want to talk about the Cowboys on the rise, 6 in a row. Are they legitimate title contenders or pretenders?
They're not pretenders. The thing with the Cowboys is that they need to keep winning. So it's been a couple of years for the Cowboys because they kind of dropped off after their premiership and the natural regression which comes with that. Paul Green, I suppose, has a bit to do with that because he kept picking the same players for 2 or 3 years after that, loyalty out of winning a premiership, and that ended up seeing him get sacked as a coach because he wouldn't blood any players. The Cowboys are in a spot now where they are doing so well that they might actually have 2, 3, 4, 5 players playing Origin. So this is a really important part of the season for the Cowboys, which Todd Payton, the start of the year, probably may have looked at the season and said, I might have most of my players for the Origin period.
Yeah.
But he's looking at guys like Reuben Cotter and Nanai and Valentine Holmes will be there. They have players there that are going to go missing through Origin. So let's see how Cowboys go through this Origin period. I think they'll be okay because they remind me a lot of the Broncos this year too. And I know you want to talk about the Cowboys, but I really think the Broncos, we might even see a prelim final this year, Broncos and Cowboys.
Massive. That'd be massive.
And it's unthinkable. Imagine the start of the year, someone saying prelim final Broncos versus Cowboys.
Oh,
You'd call them a madman.
I said on a podcast this morning that if you could have written your own check for saying, you know, the Broncos Cowboys are the longest streaks at the moment in the NRL, and you're looking at 3rd and 5th. Like you could have, in round 12, you could have written your own check, right, at the start of the year.
100%.
So, massive what they're doing. Even like they've had a couple of really bad years, but even if you go back to what was their magical run, was it 2017?
17, yeah.
And they were out of the finals.
That was without Thurston.
They were out of the finals, right?
Morgan killed it.
Fucking Dragons, all they had to do was win on the Sunday against the Bulldogs. Bulldogs upset them, and they got on the phone to the Cowboys saying, sorry, boys, Mad Monday's over. You're playing in the finals. Go on this magical run. They were out. Like, they
were drinking.
I shouldn't say they didn't deserve to be in the finals, but, you know, we let them in. And, you know, they go on this magical run, but then after that, it's downhill, right? I don't think they've been in the top 10 since then. And then this year, it's just a massive turnaround. To get up to 3rd, they just got guys doing all the things right. Like, there's not a bloke on that park that you probably look at and go, like, even like, you look at Chad Townsend, I thought, you know what?
He cops some shit.
He cops some shit. And even when he was going up there, I'm like, what's he going up there for? Has he been a bit of a mentor, I suppose, to the young halves? Because I don't think he's probably good enough to start. He's playing fucking outstanding. You got Scotty Drinkwater, who no one really wrote off, but like he wasn't. He's sort of been, you know, quiet and injury and things like that, and he's just come in and just fucking killing it. Even like Homicide Tabudai Fido, like he's just come back in, but he wasn't, you know, always a shorter spot like after they started doing so well this year. So just some guns. And Reuben Cotter, mate, if he'll be in the Queensland side for sure, you'd think.
Look, I actually had him noted down. I don't know if I mentioned him before, but he'll be in the Origin team.
Yeah.
But some credit needs to go to Todd Payton. So
100%.
So Todd Payton as well, like there was issues with Todd Payton and Jason Taumalolo and all this shit. And
Jeez, they're a bit quiet now, aren't they? The people that were saying that.
Yeah, but there was some smoke to the fire, right? So Payton got up there and he kind of took away Taumalolo's leadership and took away some of his minutes. He brought up, like you said, Chad Townsend. Jake Granville's still there, and he's playing across the park. He did that last year as well. Reece Robson's come along. That was before Payton, I think, as well. Tom Dearden's got up there from the Broncos, who was a reject. And Drinkwater, like you said, I'm pretty sure he was like fourth string fullback for the Melbourne Storm, unless it was the other one. I'm pretty sure that's the Drinkwater. They all went up there. Valentine Holmes, there was question marks about him after the NFL. He was shit when he came back to the NRL. He came back at fullback, and he wasn't the player he was. But they've got it right, and some credit needs to go to Todd Payten. And it doesn't always happen like that. Most of the time in the NRL, when a coach goes up to a club and he says, right, this is what we're doing, and the players are used to their ways and they're setting what they're doing, whether they're winning or losing, a new coach comes in and says, I'm the coach, I'm the boss. Usually the coach goes.
Yep.
And I've got to give some respect. I don't know who's running the club up there. I can't remember if it's Peter Parr or if he's moved on or whoever it is up there right now. But good on the Cowboys for sticking by Todd Payten because they're seeing the benefits of it now.
Yep, 100%. They're going great. And, look at their run for the next few weeks. Like, tough contest on Friday night against the Panthers. But after that, they
can win that.
I said they got like 14.5 start, and I said I like them with the start, but
that's good value. 14 start. I'm
like, they're missing Taumalolo and they're missing Kyle Felt. But I think Taumalolo is a big loss. Yeah, but they're going to fight. I just think the 14.5 is way too much, so I took them with the start, but they could upset them. But after that,
I think it'll be tight. But if they get up, it's good value. That's what I'll say.
Titans, Dragons, Manly, Broncos. Then the bye coming into they come up against the Titans, which will be, if they lose some Origin players, not a bad team to come up against if you're short a couple. Then us Dragons coming off that Origin game up there on a Friday night, so. I'm not saying we're easy, but it's an easier game. Manly, it'll be interesting to see how they go over the next few weeks without Turbo. And then Broncos, that'll be a super clash on the Saturday. So, interesting to see how they go over the next 5 weeks. Really excited to see what they do for the rest of the season.
I agree.
Mate, taking out the Storm and the Panthers, we've spoken about the Cowboys. Who are you picking as your biggest threat to the title?
I just mentioned them. I think it's the Broncos.
Really? Yeah.
There's something that reminds me of the 2005 West Tigers run.
Yeah, yep.
And I know it's early, but they are doing things. Yes, the game's changed back with the 6 again being pulled back, but the Broncos with these kids, they are just winning games they shouldn't be winning, and they're winning games impressively. And some of those weeks they're doing it without Adam Reynolds. A guy comes in, they're all smiling, and they're beating teams. I just think there's something about the Broncos this year that they're doing really, really well. A couple of weeks ago, they were $101 to win the premiership. They've come into 21, I think, of last week.
Wow.
And I was about to put I was about to put a pineapple at the pub and say, "There's me pineapple for the week," and I ended up putting on Alex Twal to score. Which we're about to go into, I think. But I ended up putting it on 12 to score a try against the Bulldogs. But I think there's some value there, and I don't think the Broncos care where they're playing. They just happen to play, and they're winning footy games, which is really, really exciting for the local Brisbane area.
Mate, I can't fault you, but I like the Sharks. Yeah, I need to see some consistency for them. They've gone like win,
That's
loss,
what we
win,
talked
loss,
about
win,
the
loss.
last one, didn't we?
Yes. So I need if they can do it, which they haven't done. They've lost against the Raiders and games that they should have won. They're losing. If they can string together, especially through this Origin period, they'll probably be without Nico Hines. Who else?
I'm trying to go through their team.
Maybe only him.
Fucking hell. No, there'll be a few. Maybe not.
No, I think it's just him. If they can string together some wins and solidify that sort of, they're a top 4 team, I think they're a big threat come finals team. Because we know what Craig Fitzgibbon can do, and we know he's good. He's only 12 games into his NRL career, and he's already got a team that's inside the top 4 that has gone win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. So string together a few wins, solidify that top 4 spot. I think they're a legitimate chance. So, like we said, taking out the Storm and the Panthers, I think the Sharks are up there to be a contender at the end of the year.
I can't argue with that, and I think Fitzgibbon is still like you can see when they're winning games.
Yeah,
they're a great team, but I think there's still something there for Fitzgibbon to teach these guys that once you get that momentum and some wins, that they could be unstoppable. So, yeah, I can't fault that one either, mate. I think they're going to be close too.
They're probably the biggest talking points from round 11 that we wanted to chat about. But you mentioned Alex Twal. You jumped on him first try scorer. We're all backing him. Everyone wanted to see him get over the stripe. But
dirty.
Did you see him run out and not break his own banner?
I did, and you didn't ask me for notes on this, but I had to make a couple of notes. Actually, one. Sorry, I made a note about a wrestling mix with this, and I don't know if you ever saw this because you said you were a WWF guy. This was, I think it was 1993 WCW, and Ric Flair is cutting a promo. It's kind of like Piper's Pit. Piper's Pit. It's a kind of like a studio thing. He's there with the Bulldog and Sting and Sid and Harlem Heat. And the Shockmaster, this is his debut, and he goes through a wall and he trips over the wall and falls down, and he's wearing like a stormtrooper
helmet. Yeah, was spray painted with glitter or something, was it?
Glitter on it, and there's like a horrible computer voiceover at the top of it. And he's actually the former Tugboat and Typhoon from WWF. So that to me, when Alex Twal couldn't get through that, what do you reckon that fabric was?
Mate, they've just got the strongest They just went to the guy, the girl, the company, whoever did it, right?
Can't they ring the Melbourne Storm and say, what the fuck is that like?
It's meant to be paper tissue, right? But they've just gone, give it.
Mache.
We want someone to run through this and not break it. So just give us something that no one can break. You know,
Luke Brooks, the same thing happened to Luke Brooks at Campbelltown one night too.
They didn't learn their lesson.
No.
But it was hilarious. We have to shout out Karate Warrior. I need to know his real name if he wants to be known for the Shockmaster recut he put on Twitter. It was.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he mentioned something too, didn't he?
He made it, or did you make it? I thought he made it.
No. I just remembered off the top of my head.
Yes.
Shockmaster falling through a wall.
No, well, he made it. He made
that he actually mentioned something.
He made a recut of it. I just need to go back through it here.
I forgot about that. Sorry, Karate Warrior. I love you.
Yeah, no, Twal, the Shockmaster. Oh, it went mental.
Sorry, I didn't mean to steal Karate Warriors.
No. Like I said, I'm pretty sure people were thinking it. He's just actually gone and recut it, which is brilliant.
Now I sound like a dickhead. Sorry, Karate.
No. So, yeah, he's got it there. It's in our mentions. It's absolutely hilarious. So, mate, shout out to you, Karate. Appreciate it, mate. I don't think he made it for us. I think he just made it, tagged us in it. So
that's it. That's why we're doing
this.
That's
what we want.
People just make wrestling shit with football for no reason.
And they just tag us in some old stuff too, and it's so good because it's either something I don't know most of the time, or I've forgotten about, or so it's like, oh yeah, that's so cool, and you want to go back and watch it, and it's good. But no, thanks for that. So that's going to wrap up a bit of footy chat. We for the last couple of weeks that we've missed. This is one of my mates pulled me up. I'll give him a shout out, Joshy Crosley, my best mate.
Good on you, JC.
The original
just
JC.
Just make a nickname up for Josh,
mate. The best JC. There's no JC better. He mentioned so currently Sasha Banks and Naomi, they walked out of Raw a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, they did.
Due to creative differences. Now, I just thought it made me think of some of the best walkouts of rugby league and wrestling that we can remember. I don't know if you want to go first, or because I've got a couple there.
You go first. You go.
I think probably the biggest one that people remember. I'll go wrestling first. The biggest one I remember was Stone Cold back on Raw in the early 2000s. Had a bit of an argument in regards to booking with Brock Lesnar. He saying it probably should have been saved for pay-per-view, and he just went home to Texas, went back home to the ranch, sank a couple of Steve Weisers, and didn't come back for a while. Sent him and let him know, but they buried him on on the broadcast saying that that was unprofessional. They even had like their doco back in the day run it was almost breaking kayfabe sort of thing where it was like we're talking about some real shit here, and that's probably the biggest one I remember in wrestling.
I'll just jump in on that one. That was pretty shit for Austin because he was at the back end of his career, so he was only stone cold Steve Austin from like say what mid '97 to onwards.
Yep.
So he had a 15-20 career before that.
Yeah.
And he was already struggling neck wise, his knees, all that shit. He had total control over his creativity, apart from saying not as good as Hulk Hogan, but there was actually something that happened before that. If you go back and look at King of the Ring 2002, Eddie Guerrero versus Ric Flair, Vince actually booked Austin to verse Eddie Guerrero at King of the Ring 2002 in just a regular match, just mid-card third match or something. And Austin questioned Vince on that and said, have you got nothing for me? As in, where's my character going?
Yep.
And Vince goes, just first Eddie and then we'll get something for you. And I think before the pay-per-view, Vince went up to Austin and said, I want Brock Lesnar to beat you clean in the middle of the ring on Raw. And this is the guy that's not even 12 months gone from beating The Rock at the biggest WrestleMania of all time.
Yep.
At WrestleMania X7 in Houston. The guy that's drawn more money than Hulk Hogan in a shorter space of time. And Vince is telling him to go out and verse Eddie Guerrero in a program and get pinned by Brock
on TV.
I don't blame Austin for going home, but I think if you look at Austin's career after that and him coming back in 2003 at Seattle and him also almost dying backstage from neck injuries when he shouldn't have versed Rock for the third time, I think there was a bit of trepidation about him anyway, and I think he wanted to go home. But yeah, there's that's up there. That's definitely up there. But for Vince and the Rock was on there too, wasn't he? The Rock came out that night and said Austin took his ball and went home.
He did,
something
yeah,
like that?
Yeah. They all come out and said some stuff on air to pretty much everyone. So yeah, it wasn't a great look. And for us, I suppose at home, when we were watching it at the time, you sort of forget about that, don't you? You forget about all that you just mentioned. You forget about it because
we didn't have Dave Meltzer back in 2002.
Yeah, you didn't have all the internet people talking. You didn't have stuff that we know now. So you sort of see what happens on TV and you're like, oh, what's he been a sook for? And in the moment sort of thing. So yeah, it's always interesting to look back on hindsight and go, but I suppose I missed a lot of the external stuff as well. I saw what happened on Raw and SmackDown, but the external stuff that they had on their websites and I know they didn't have podcasts back then, but they had their little mini short TV shows and things like that on their own network. But it's always interesting to go back and look at it. But that's one that sticks out for me in the wrestling. But on rugby league, I got a couple. Probably the biggest one in rugby league, I think, is Sonny Bill Williams walking out on the Bulldogs. 2000 and I'm going to guess and say 7.
Close. I think maybe 7 or 8.
Yep. And backdooring it in the middle of the night, heading off to France to play a bit of French rugby union. And just not telling anyone, just packing up his bags after 2 years into a 5-year deal, I think it might have been.
Pretty shit.
It was pretty shit, especially if you're like for a Bulldogs fan. Look, you can side with him and say like he wasn't getting paid properly, he can make so much more money, all those things. That's fine, but you're a Bulldogs fan. You've just signed this guy for 5 years. You sort of plan your whole squad around this next superstar of the game, and then you're waking up the next morning going, "Where is he?" That's probably the biggest one I think in rugby league. That's when I was doing it, I was like, what can I think of? And I'm like, that's probably the biggest one.
Well, that I agree, that's the biggest one. But I got a couple of other ones that are a little bit smaller that have maybe we've missed. Another Bulldogs guy, Solomon Homono, leaving the Bulldogs for London. For what was the name?
Oh,
the supermodel?
The Love Machine.
The Love Machine. Yeah. That had something to do with Coda Nasser too. That was Sonny Bill got his fingers into Solomon Homono, Anthony Mundine. I think SB Do had a bit with Coda as well. The Love Machine. Well, I can see you googling it right now.
I can't. Mate, if something pops into my head, I need
Gabrielle
to know.
Ritchie?
Gabrielle Richens. Richens or Ritchie?
I think she was on the Footy Show one night.
Richens, she was. Oh, she was a great sort.
Anyway, but there's you can't say too much about
the Pleasure Machine. She was
the Pleasure Machine. But I mean, Solomon never really wanted to fulfill his career, so good on him. But here's a couple other ones. 2 weeks ago, Anthony Maroon on Triple M.
Oh, yep, great walkout.
Walked out.
Yep,
walked out. And here's another one that you may not remember. This is way back in the day, and they made up, and they ended up going back.
Are you thinking I'm not? I'm going to have a guess and say I'm older than you. Why are you saying back in the day? Why I remember?
No. We're the same age, motherfucker. No, this is 2010, I want to say. So back in the day, Darryl Broman was playing for Queensland in a Star of Origin game. He was about to get picked for the Kangaroos. Les Boyd was playing for the Blues, and Les Boyd came out of line and
whacked him.
For all intents and purposes, came out of line and intentionally elbowed him in the jaw, broke his jaw, and Broman lost his spot and his one chance to play for the Kangaroos.
Yep.
Darryl then went and sued Les Boyd in civil court and won. So in the late 2000s, maybe around 2010, there was a huge fight on 2GB's continuous call where Bob Fulton called Broman on air a coward for suing Les Boyd, and they had a big brouhaha on air, and Broman got up and walked out.
I do, yep.
It took weeks, and I think Hadley got together and got them back together, but that's another big walkout, and if you guys want to go back and have a look at it, but that was all about, do you keep footy on the field, or if someone intentionally breaks your jaw and costs you a spot in a Kangaroo jersey, do you sue them in court? Big call, and I know Darryl Broman doesn't like to talk about it. And I know Les Boyd, who apparently, even though he was a firebrand on the field, lives a very quiet, respectable life out in the bush and is much loved by his community. And apparently he's not the same bloke that he was on the field. Very interesting, murky waters there, but that's a good walkout too.
That is a good one. I forget about you media types, the guys on the radio. And
come on.
I shouldn't say that. I'm practically in media now.
You are the main media now. You're mainstream.
Oh, I'm not. No, I'm still underground. I'm still.
You get more hits and more views than I get reads and listens to my shit. Trust me.
Well, I'm going to say this is not such a walkout. This is more just a give up. But Mal Meninga, his political career. For the people that don't know, Mal Meninga, when he left rugby league, I'm thinking late 90s, maybe even early 2000s. I'm not sure.
Early 2000s, I think he just quit as Canberra Raiders coach.
There you go. And he wanted to enter the world of politics, and he went on radio, and the radio host asked a very simple question. I haven't watched the footage, but I just remember it. But he asked him, something, why are you doing this? Why do you want to get into it? Blah, blah, blah. And he started talking. And then about 38 seconds later, he's like, I've had enough. I can't do it. And he just gets up and walks out.
And I feel sorry for him. Because apparently what he said in interviews after that is that he trained for months, like as the former legendary Kangaroos captain, and he practiced for hundreds of different questions. But the first question he got asked was a question he hadn't
prepared for. Yeah.
And his brain just went, I can't do it.
Mate, and I'm not bagging him because I would do that. I need to be prepared. So even this stuff, like we go, what questions are we going to be talking about? Because I don't want you to throw some...
like, let's just do whatever. And you're like, no,
I've got to be scheduled. I've got to be structured, mate. I've got to be structured and have... Because if you throw a wobbly at me, I don't want to be going, and then go turns the listeners off if they haven't switched off already. But yeah, no. So that's some of the best walkouts in wrestling and rugby league. But if you've got another one, let us know. Tweet us at League World Ord, because Twitter doesn't allow those extra 2 characters in our name. Yeah, but League World Ord, tweet us your best walkout in rugby league or anything really, rugby league, wrestling. But if you've got some better one, let us know. Mate, you wanted to talk about, because we've got one more segment before we get into the movie review as well. Did you do a movie review? Did you watch it? Well, I watched it today.
Mate, you scared the shit out of me because you sent the run sheet at about 3:30 and I went, yeah, no dramas. And then I put my phone down and I said to my missus, turn the TV off. We need to watch a documentary.
We'll get into
so
it.
I actually watched it from about 4:30 to about 6 o'clock tonight, I think.
Yep.
But I'm glad
probably around the same time as me. It was good. But I want to move on to, we've had over the last 6 weeks or so a lot of pitch invaders. You know, not just in rugby
every
league.
sport.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a lot of different sports. And look, we don't condone it, but you know, unless you're going to get nude and run through, don't worry about it because you just wasted everyone's time. You look like a bit of a dickhead just running out there fully clothed. But you know, I spoke to NRL Don, a great account on Instagram, and he said there was a guy in front of him who jumped at Magic Round. I was like, I didn't see any streakers or pitch invaders at Magic Round, but apparently there was one. And he jumped the fence and didn't even get off the turf before he was grabbed by security. So that's like a $10,000 fine just for jumping the fence. It's
what's
like,
the point of doing it?
What's the point?
But look, I have mentioned this before in other social avenues, is that I think it actually comes back to something, I can't remember what comedian it was, Nish Kumar, an English comedian, who I respected until he said Ricky Gervais is a dickhead and should change his comedy. Up till then, he was saying that going back into comedy after COVID is that people don't want to be in the crowd anymore. They want to be the stars.
Yes.
And I think there's really, there is honestly, I think there's something
merit
mentally in people. Yep. And people being locked down and people with their phones, they just don't give a shit anymore. They're out on the field and they're like this euphoria of like, I'm doing something because people are watching me and they don't give a fuck if they get hit by the security guards or whatever. They think they're the stars of the show now because social media is such an echo chamber and everything bounces back to them. So we're going to get to the point where someone's going to run out in the middle of a UFC match, jump the cage and get choked out and die. And it's like people are going to say, "Well, sucked in."
Yeah, I've heard a few wrestlers. I can't pinpoint one that said it, but when there's been a fan that's jumped into a wrestling ring and tried to do whatever, the wrestlers just get a hold of them and just do whatever the fuck they want to them because once you're in there, you're in our world. We can do whatever the fuck we want. Like you've broken that rule of staying behind the barrier. Yeah.
There's actually really good footage. I think it's like 96 when Triple H was still Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Yep.
And his first I think it wasn't Stunning Steve Austin, but I think it was the ringmaster under Ted DiBiase, Steve Austin. And it's on YouTube. It's like a house show in the middle of Bumfuck USA. And the guy tries to jump in the ring and attack Austin, and Triple H just rips into him for about a minute straight.
Yep.
And that's that's what you deserve. If you get the ring, and I've seen Scott Hall and Kevin Nash like proper stomp guys. So I've got a couple here from wrestling, but did you have any?
No, mate, go for it. You run it. So what we want to do is so there's been the pitch invaders, and we wanted to talk about some of the big either mid-match run-ins or wrestling run-ins that we can remember. But hit me with yours, Curtis.
All right. Well, I'll start with the first one, which came to the first one that came to mind, and then the second one is the most memorable to me. So the first one to me, WrestleMania 2003 in Seattle. It was Vince McMahon versus Hulk Hogan, and they pitched it as 20 years in the making, and all this shit that happened over a 20-year period. And then at the end of the fight, they're both on the ground. It's a street fight, of course, because they're both old codgers. And then Roddy Piper just gets in the ring, and it makes sense because on one side of the ring, he's got Vince McMahon, who was his booker for years. Some people say Piper and Vince had a dysfunctional relationship. Piper always said to Vince, "You need me," and Vince said, "Well, I don't need you. I can replace you." Then he went off. And then on the other side, Roddy Piper looks at Hulk Hogan and sees the guy, and Roddy Piper always argues, there's no Hulk Hogan without Roddy Piper. So then he looks down into the ring, and there's a steel pipe, and the crowd's going mad. I think it's the Seattle Mariners baseball home ground, and Piper picks up the pipe, no pun intended, turns around, and instead of hitting Vince, he hits Hogan and walks out of the ring. Although that was pretty cool, but that was not the one. That's not the number one for me. That's just the first one that came to my head. The number one is the one that creates the New World Order. So the outsiders, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, left WWF, went to WCW, and for months and months and months, they were building up. Who's their third tag team? Who's their partner? Who's the third wheel? Who's the third wheel? And they went into Bash on the Beach 1996, 2 against 3. I think it was Sting, Savage, and can't remember the third bloke. If someone on social media wants to remind me. Then Savage is in the ring. The outsiders are bashing up Savage. And then Hogan runs down to the ring. Or walks. Savage, Hogan never entered the ring. Walks down to the ring. And then Hogan's looking around. And I think at that time too, and I think it's been said in other podcasts, Hulk Hogan been a good guy for 30 years or 20 years, whatever.
Yeah,
And he'd be shitting himself going, what am I about to do?
Yep. And
he's looking around the ring and he turns at Savage and he drops a leg drop on Savage. And then he hits him with a second one. And then he gets Nash and Savage and Hall in the ring. And then all of a sudden he's a heel and there's shit getting thrown in the ring. They're getting hit in the head with beer cans. And Dusty Rhodes is on commentary going, a career of a lifetime, baby. All down the drain, Hulk Hogan. All down the drain, Hulk Hogan.
That is a great impression too. And we've talked about impressions, so
thank you, baby. No, but I think that is the best run-in wrestling history was Hogan. I think he knew his run as a good guy was at an end anyway. It was 96. If he stayed as a good guy, he was fucked. For him to turn heel, it's a master stroke and one of Hogan's many master strokes. And he leached himself to the hottest thing in wrestling, which was at the time Nash and Hall. So I think that was the best run-in wrestling history. 96 Bash to the Beach. You haven't seen it?
No, I've seen it. Yeah, I remember that one for sure. It was a huge turning point in professional. And do you know, like you've raised the point that I've never, like I've watched that a heap of times, but I've never really thought about it in what was going through his head at the time. Like,
he would have been packing death, man.
I'd never thought. I thought it was a really cool moment. Even though I was a WWF guy, it was like, holy shit! Like Hogan's turned heel, like mental. But yeah, I've never actually looked at it.
He's the one wrestling guy that would have to sit there with accountants and go, "What's this
going to cost me?
Finances?" Yep. You know, like he would have to go through so many different things to make him go, "Okay, this makes sense for me."
Yeah. So yeah, I've never actually thought about, like, in that moment, he's like, everything he's worked for, everything he's done as a performer could he be throwing it all the way down the drain, or could it be that, you know, it's one of two ways, isn't it? It's like go down to the drain, or he's going to shoot back up to the top. And it's like,
I don't think he honestly had a choice, to be honest, either, because at the end of his first run in WWF, when the steroid trial was about to come up, and Vince wanted to get rid of him anyway and find a new guy, which was the Ultimate Warrior. Hogan knew, he was like, I need to reinvent myself. I need to find something else to do. And that was, okay, maybe WCW, but then the Roid trial started. So even at his last run at WWF in 93 WrestleMania, when he popped back up, he'd already lost 150 pounds because of the Roid trial. So he had to lose the weight because he couldn't take the roids because they were under, you know, the FBI was watching it.
Yeah, yep.
And then Vince gives him one last win against Yokozuna after Bret Hart couldn't beat Yokozuna.
Yep.
And then Hogan's gone anyway. Then what does Hogan do? He goes, all right, well, I'll go to WCW for more money I was on with Vince because WCW will pay because it's Ed Turner. All of a sudden, Hogan rocks up at Disney World with Mickey Mouse and Jimmy the Hart and all this shit. So he's reinvented himself.
Yep.
But then 3 years later, the same people that were enjoying him at WCW 93 were the same people that were sick of him in WWF through the whole 80s. So if he didn't turn heel then, he could have been doing indie tours and public signings the rest of his life if he stayed babyface. So it was a huge deal for him, and balls. Oh, good. No, he had balls to do it, but he had no other choice.
For me on the WWF side, Stone Cold had a heap, right? There was so many on Raw and things like that. One of the best ones I can remember from him was running in to help Mankind win his first championship.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, the Rocks, all the I don't think, was it the corporation at that time? They're all there to. I don't think it was corporation. No, it wasn't the corporation. It might have been just a corporation. It was like Vince McMahon and the cronies and stuff like that.
They were everywhere, right?
They're all around, right? And I I know DX were out there. They were on Mankind's side as well, so they weren't part of the corporation yet. But yeah, he comes storming down the ring, chair shot to Rock, throws Mankind on top of Rock, throws the ref in the ring, count it, bang, 1, 2, 3, gives him the championship. I just remember that as a pivotal, and that's a pivotal moment in the wars.
And you brought that up on episode 1. I think Tony Schiavone was the one that said, "Don't turn over to Raw right now because
Mankind's about to win the championship. That'll put bums on seat."
Like 2 million people switched over to watch that.
Watch it, yeah, and you've pretty much got the cream of the crop right there in that finish. You had The Rock, Mankind, Stone Cold, and Triple H before Triple H was that big. Vince McMahon as well. So it's like a lot of storylines around that at that final thing. So, but yeah, him coming out to that was probably one of the best ones. Another one I can remember was Shane McMahon. So at Survivor Series 98. Now, previous to this, Stone Cold, wanted his a rematch for the title. If you remember, at Survivor Series 97 was a screw job with Bret Hart. 98, they try and replicate it, not too well, but beforehand they're building up a friendship between Shane McMahon and Stone Cold. He's on his side. Shane McMahon's a bit of a ref at the time. And they have this Deadly Games tournament, which is set up.
That went forever, didn't it? There was like 1,000 matches.
Yeah, crazy. But in the semi-final, so they had Stone Cold and Big Boss Man, I think, in the opening fight. Big Boss Man just beats the shit out of him, gets disqualified just to try and hinder him. But then it comes to a semi-final. All Vince and all his cronies are around the thing. So Vince and Shane are at loggerheads beforehand. They're all beside Vince is in a chair acting like he's injured. And it looks like Stone Cold gets the upper hand. Ref gets knocked down, of course. He covers Mankind, but there's no ref. Shane McMahon comes running in, counts 1, 2, and then he holds up his arm for the 3. Gets in front of Stone Cold, gives him the fingers. And I remember watching that and just going, thinking, oh, he's gonna help him here, and then it's like a screw job again. And you're like, oh fuck, he's got him. So again, that one was pretty memorable for me. But a funny one. I don't know if you remember the referee, Little Nate. I forget his name. Charles Robinson.
Charles Robinson. Yep.
Been around for years, but I don't even know what WrestleMania it is. I forget. They had the long entrance. And the ref gets knocked down in one of the matches, and they're like, need another ref. And Little Nate is just running, and the camera just stays on him, which is awesome. But he's just running from the very top to the very bottom, and his little strides, and he's running. And I'm just like, that's a fact, in not a run in as in he runs in to help the match or does anything, but it's a run into a match. He's just running. He's probably still running. It's a classic meme. So if you haven't seen it,
I'm pretty sure he got into wrestling because he liked Ric Flair.
Yep.
And he dyed his hair to look like Ric Flair too.
Well, and that's how he got the nickname, Little Nate. So
yeah.
I remember I was never big on WCW. When I tuned in, I was like, is he related to Ric Flair? Like I always thought he was, and they did look very similar. But
even when they both got back to Charles Robinson, his first run in WWE was after WCW folded, but obviously Flair was there for a year or two before that. But Charles Robinson was the guy where Flair would actually get to the ring, and Robinson always had him as a ref because Flair would get up to the apron and raise his hands and go, drop the rope for me, and Robinson would come over. He was the guy that would actually start opening the ropes for him and let him in. That's where that came from. That was Little Nate and Nate. And Ric Flair loves shit like that. He loves that shit.
But if you've got a better one, if you've got a more memorable one, let us know again at Twitter, League World Ord, and let us know the best run in or even maybe streaker in a rugby league match. Let us know your favourite one. But moving on, movie review time, mate. You after my Ready to Rumble suggestion, this is a good follow up actually because it's almost like a sequel. If you could, a documentary sequel to Ready to Rumble with You Cannot Kill David Arquette is the movie that or documentary that we're reviewing this week. So it details the last probably 5 years, or around 2018, 2019 life of David Arquette, who we spoke about in the last episode. He won, an actor who won the WCW title back in 2000. One of the pinpoints of the downfall of WCW at the time, and how he's still, by wrestling fans, considered one of the worst things to ever happen in wrestling, which is sad, but considering it wasn't really, his fault entirely. But this is a little bit of sort of his redemption. But I'll let you take it off, mate. You Cannot Kill David Arquette. What did you think about it?
I watch a lot of docos, and I think this is one of the best documentaries I've seen in a long time. Not in a wrestling sense, just in a person fighting through demons that we can all relate to. I thought it was fantastic. As you learn in the first 30 or 40 minutes, and yes, there is a bit of all of us that says, "Oh, David Arquette, that's Sheriff Dewey," or he made some silly movies and stuff like that. But you can see the frustration now in his life where we can relate to. Again, he doesn't want to grow up, but he wants to be respected as an actor, and doesn't want to be that joke guy that stole a title, that people say ruined a business. It didn't ruin a business. It was one of the last straws. But like you said, it wasn't him. And you see, I think it's a perfectly made documentary about being at rock bottom and your redemption and as a human being. And that's what I saw through it as well, is that, you get told by his sisters and his family he's got 2 heart stents and he had a heart attack a year before he starts doing this show. He's got severe anxiety, and he's got a big Hollywood family, and he looks like a bloke that just wants to be loved and appreciated. And you do, and a lot of that too, when you got your own demons, is that you kind of you try to blanket them with drinking and all the other stuff. And obviously he's been through some drinking and all that shit as well. But by the end of it, I mean, even halfway through, and he's in Mexico and he's wrestling with the Lucha Libres, I'm like, fucking you go, bro. Like, you do as, and I've got 1,000 notes here, but I can just remember off the top of my head just watching it because it was only a couple of hours ago. Little things like he's watching Miss Elizabeth, and he's watching that several times through the show, and that unreachable, perfect setting, which is Miss Elizabeth and Randy Savage in wrestling on the show. So obviously Randy Savage was a nut job backstage, and obviously Miss Elizabeth in later life had drug issues and obviously died from drugs, living with Lex Luger and all this shit. But there's something perfect about Miss Elizabeth, which is an unreachable goal for anyone in life, whether you like wrestling or not. That the Randy Savage's music, and Miss Elizabeth in the ring, and he continually watches that. And ironically, at the end, his wife comes out with him when he's in the best. He looks amazing. He knows what he's doing, and his wife holds his hand and comes out at the end. I thought it was so fucking good. And I don't know what David Arquette's doing now, but by the end of the show, by the end of that documentary, I'm like, fucking hell, this is the best wrestling documentary, the best kayfabe I've seen in 20 years. Everyone's in on it. Everyone's in it. From those guys, Nick Kelly, the skinny guy that's driving around in the wrestling gear in his van the next day after a match, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, this is all kayfabe.
Yep.
But it is so beautifully put together. And then just before he goes to fight Kennedy, the match before against Nick Gage, who I don't like, and I think he's a fucking idiot, but he's a hardcore legend on all these indie circuits, and he's the king of hardcore because he'll eat a lightning bolt and like shit on your kid's face. I don't know. But apparently in the show, right, in the documentary, Nick Gage does something which is not part of what they're supposed to be doing, and Arquette gets out of the ring and he's holding his neck, and he's halfway into the crowd, and he's come so far. And I don't know if this is acting or if this is part of, I've got to go back and prove to the fans. He turns around and says, I'm going to go back in. He hits him with a chair or some shit, but he knows that he has to take the pin because that's what he has to do.
Yep.
Then he takes the pin, gets back up and walks back out.
Yep.
Then he goes to the hospital. And then he goes into the main event with Mr. Kennedy or Mr. Anderson, whatever his name is.
I like Kennedy. Kennedy.
Mr. Kennedy. Yeah, so he fights Kennedy, and in the documentary, it looks like he wins, but I actually had to Google it, and I actually scribbled down in capital letters, I hope Arquette did not win that match.
Yep.
Because that would ruin it, because Arquette is proving to himself he can be a man and prove himself to the wrestling community. The last thing you can do is let bookers
get him over,
put him over against Kennedy.
Yeah.
So I Googled it and it said 2019, whatever it was, Wrestling Legends, Arquette and Kennedy had a great match. Kennedy pinned him 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
And then Kennedy kept bashing him up, and then Booker T came out and helped him. So I'm glad the documentary showed Arquette in a good light, because that was his shining moment, because the pin didn't matter.
No, that's the thing. Yeah, the end of it
didn't matter.
Yeah, the ending of that match didn't matter. It's where he started from and where he's come. Where you said like his wife as Miss Elizabeth. When I saw her come out, I was like fucking goosebumps, because he sort of preluded to
beautiful, dude.
When he goes, oh, my wife even looks like Miss Elizabeth, and then that comes out, and I'm like, dude, that like is just fucking so special. Like, you've grown up watching wrestling.
We're all chasing wrestling.
We're chasing something. We're chasing Miss Elizabeth, aren't we? In one way or another, it's like whatever you're chasing, it's Miss Elizabeth, right? It's a thing that you're never going to get, but it's just what you're always going to chase, right? But yeah, man, it's not even a wrestling documentary. It's just a life documentary of a guy who not down on his luck. He's had some luck. He was a great actor in his early career. Like they said, he became a bit of a goofball, and now he's got typecast and things like that, and hasn't really made too much since then. I'm just looking through it now. He's made a fair bit, but nothing really stands out, sort of thing. But a guy that could have. They even put him like he was on the cover of some magazine with Leo, Matthew McConaughey, and actors who have gone on to bigger and better things. And he's like thinking,
to be fair though, there was a few guys on that page that I didn't recognize either. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
but he's thinking, that could have been me, or you always have those regrets, and it's a great sort of redemption. Like when we talk about wrestling and David Arquette, it's not ever in a good light. It's always that WCW stuff, and he would have copped that from everywhere. And for a guy that grown up, like, if I, I'd love to get in the ring one day. I'd love to, have a wrestling match of some sort. Like, I don't think I ever will, but if I did, I'd love to. And I'd hate to think that. Imagine if you did something and someone goes, "You shut down a company, you ruined one of the best years of wrestling." Right?
I think
it would be devastating, right? He probably knows he didn't, but there's still a part of him that there'd be people saying shit to him, and you even see it in the doco where he's, people are saying this stuff to him as trying to rib him and things like that. It's hard not to take it as real. So, no, but there was some great cameos in this. That the intro to it was insane. I love that intro. You can't kill David Arquette. It was a nice little rock thing, but yeah, the cameos had Ric Flair in the opening talking about it. Eric Bischoff in there, Mr. Anderson, like we spoke about. Would you see those? Because they went to a signing session and no one was there. No one wanted to sign him, obviously, because it's David Arquette. But
I don't believe that. I reckon people.
It's a setup. It's probably Do you cringe at those signing sessions? Like, they look, everyone's so sad and old, and if I was there, I'd probably be like, holy shit, that's ex wrestler from X promotion, whatever, and go, oh, that's so good, and go up and want to talk to him and get an autograph photo. But I don't know, seeing it on TV, I'm a bit like, every time I see it, I think of that guy in the crowd going, it's still real to me, god damn it, and starting to cry.
Have you seen the movie The Wrestler?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, it's
that
the
sort
same
of stuff.
thing.
Yeah,
it's the same thing where with these guys and like Virgil, who was Ted DiBiase's manager or whatever, and there's photos and videos of him in subways in New York, and he set up his own tables, his own signing tables, and said $5 a signature.
Yep.
And there's people recording him and laughing at him. Like there is something about wrestling that I can't explain because I'm not a wrestler, but from what I can understand is there is something that is better than heroin when you go out and you've got a crowd hooked on you when you walk out and they say your name and the crowd, 10,000 people looking at you, and you never lose that and that's why people like and like what is it Wrestling with Shadows or whatever, or Beyond the Mat with Jake the St. Roberts, who's doing amazing right now. I can't believe that fucker's still alive, and good on him.
Yeah.
But in Wrestling with Shadows or Beyond the Mat, whatever one it was, Beyond the Mat, and he's just blind drunk, and he's talking about the heroin and the drugs and all this shit, and he's pissing in bottles a minute before he goes out, and he's cuddling 12-year-old girls in Nebraska wrestling shows and all this shit. You never lose in your head the sound of the crowd and the fact that they're chanting your name and all that shit. So, yeah, I mean, wrestling's such a weird beast that I think a lot of people will never understand. It's a crazy thing. And I had to make a couple of notes. We already mentioned Rick Kelly, the dweeby independent wrestler that got around for days for no reason in his wrestling gear in his van. I don't know why. But then when David Arquette, like closer to the start, he gets invited to do a backyard wrestling show.
Yep.
And the ring collapses before he goes out. And the guy that was in the ring in the match, his quote is, "I was in jail when the ring was built."
Great quote for the movie.
And there was one more. I'll find it in a minute. But yeah, like you said, and I think I said before, when I finished watching this wasn't about David Arquette just getting respect from wrestlers. This was David Arquette getting respect for himself.
Yep.
And I think in that, wrestling fans respected him.
100%. Yeah.
He didn't need to go through the indies first. He didn't need to do that. But
the fact that he did, the you know.
Yeah, I mean, like he went through.
He didn't need to go to He didn't need to go to backyard wrestling, and he didn't need to go to the hardcore wrestling where you got fucking light bulbs and barbed wire, which is cut. Like the neck cut was from. He tried to turn around too fast, and then the barbed wire was around his neck, from what I gathered, and it sliced his neck because as soon as he turns around, you see him grab his neck, and then he stops. But hey, credit to him as well. Like going back in there to finish the match, knowing that he couldn't just walk out. Whether he just takes the chair shot, lays down, gets the pin, then quickly gets up and leaves. But yeah, that for me, it's a brilliant documentary.
I don't think you
because it's not, you don't need
100%.
You know, this is something you could sit there and watch it with the missus. You could watch it with anyone that you don't have to be a fan of wrestling. I think it opens up the world of wrestling to especially the indies, to a lot of people that don't know about it. But ultimately, you're just watching this guy who's struggling with his demons and wants to try and, I don't know how to say it, try and get rid of one of them in regards to the wrestling stigma that wrestling fans have about him, and that he's carried for 20 years. So, and for me, like you said, he didn't really need to do it. It wasn't his fault, but the fact that he did and documented this whole thing in a brilliant documentary, he's got a lot of respect from me.
Oh, look,
so
yeah,
not that
the last thing
anything,
I'll say is, I mean, a lot of people in wrestling or people like Jim Cornette, who I listen to a lot these days as well, they talk about the marks have taken over wrestling, as in like particularly companies like AEW, where the marks are now the wrestlers. In 2000, when Arquette won the title, he was a mark for wrestling. So he was a nerd for it, right?
Yep.
Now there's a lot of those people that are in wrestling. So if he went to AEW now, they wouldn't shit on him.
No.
They wouldn't shit on him. So he's copped something for being a wrestling fan 20 years ago and being a Hollywood guy. I could go on for hours, but I've got one more thing to question you on about, and then we'll finish the show.
Yep.
Why was Diamond Dallas Page doing yoga in a Mexican jungle? Why was he on a rock doing yoga in a jungle in Mexico?
Well, I know why. I know why he's doing yoga. Because
he had his yoga shirt on.
Yeah. But have you not seen DDP Yoga?
Yeah, man. I'm about to buy it. My knees and shoulders are fucked.
I remember it was probably a good, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, maybe even longer. There was a video that went viral on Facebook, and it was this an old paratrooper who had serious
lost his legs.
No, didn't lose his legs. His back was fucked.
Can't walk.
Couldn't walk.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I saw it.
Started doing DDP yoga, and now he's running, and I'm like, holy shit. And I looked at it, I'm like, fucking props to him because he's doing so well. He got Scott Hall back on track. I know, unfortunately Scott Hall's not with us anymore, but he got him back on track. There was a doco about that. I'm not sure exactly the name, but detail. It might have even been a TV show.
It got Mick Foley wrestling again too.
Yep. He helped Jake the Snake. Bees,
Snake, Jericho, some people.
So. Not a promo for it. But
you haven't answered my question yet. Why was he in the jungle in Mexico
I don't know.
doing yoga on a rock?
Apparently, it's a great place to do yoga. Like, I don't know. Let's go visit. I might tweet him. I'll ask him, hey mate, why were you on a rock in the middle of Mexico doing yoga? But mate, no, yeah. So for me, how many footballs out of 5 are you giving this? For me, as a doco, it's pretty fucking special. I'm giving it four footies out of 5.
I'm giving it 5.
5, yep. Can't argue.
You know what? As a normal movie, I'm giving it 4.
Yeah, yep.
Mate, fuck it. I'll give it 5 out of 5 on both.
Yep. I can't argue with it. It's a brilliant, like we said, it's a brilliant documentary. You don't have to be a wrestling fan. Go and watch it if you haven't. Obviously, if you're a wrestling fan, you're listening to this podcast, so. But hey, sit down with the missus as well because there's something in it. There's something in it that you'll both take away. And yeah, enjoy. But yeah, that was You Cannot Kill David Arquette. I'm gonna go listen to that intro again because it was brilliant.
We've gone long tonight, mate.
We have. We've gone.
Imagine if we kept the other shit in too.
I know. You were like, hey, we can't do that. Save it for next week. I'm like, oh, do we have enough? But we do love our chat. So hopefully everyone here has enjoyed. We're close to an hour and a half here of wrestling and rugby league chat, mate. What do you got on this week? The next 2 weeks?
Keeping my missus out of hospital and getting drunk.
Yep. Okay. That actually doesn't sound too bad.
What about yourself, Dean?
Mate, I'm going to reply to these guys on Twitter. They're into me.
About what?
Well, so I've got a friend who I helped coach manage in the under 18s. In the Park Spaces.
Oh, not these wrestling guys.
Yeah. They were the
guys from Newcastle.
They're in Newey. Apparently they're coming out to Parks. I was lucky enough to meet these guys. I was out at Magic Round and out the front handing out a few hats, and they wanted to come along and say good day. And they all seem decent sort of guys. They're all chatty, but yeah, a few of them a bit arrogant, I thought.
It sounds like it to me.
Those Newey guys, all a bit. But I was talking to my mate Scotty Green. He's wrestling for IWA, so they come out. They come out to Parks.
Mate, my favourite wrestler of all time, Mark Messiter from IWA.
There you go. Well, there's a lot of good guys in there, but I'll tell you, there's a couple of guys that are a bit rough, and they chat shit. They can't.
Who are they?
They're trying to roll me up, and I don't know why. But
who are they, Dean? Tell me who they are, mate. I'll look after you.
The Chief Rig.
What kind of name is that?
Yeah, I know the Chief. No, stealing
it. The Chief Rig.
The Chief Rig. Yeah, stealing a gimmick from 1997, mate. Give it back. And Matty Diamond. He's a middleweight, acting like a big tough guy, heavyweight. But I could easily
his mum's name is Sweet Caroline.
It could be. But I could easily squash with like my left pinky, I reckon. But these guys,
Newcastle or Wollongong?
No, these are Newey guys.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Does that explain it?
Wollongong is actually Australia's #1 steel city, so I don't know why we're talking about Newcastle for. I love Wollongong. Newcastle's no good.
Yeah, no, Newcastle, terrible place. One good guy, Scotty Green. The others, crap. But hey, they want to talk some shit. Look, I'm happy to engage. I'm happy to come on. But like, if you're coming out west, if you're coming out to my territory, just be careful. That's all I'm going to say. You don't want to anger the beast inside me, Curtis, because if you open up a can of worms,
mate, I've seen it. I've seen it in rehearsals, brother. I've seen you. Look, I said, hey, Dane, how about this? Can we do this on the show? And you just come down like a tower of bricks, mate. And I'm scared. When you give me those eyes, I get worried. All right.
So just
So I'm scared for these. Who are these bastards?
don't know.
They come what? So do they live in Newcastle or
They're in Newcastle. No, yeah, the outer parts, the bad parts of Cessnock, I think.
Yeah, right.
Even maybe Curry, I reckon. A few of them. But hey, if you want to come out west, talk some shit, I'm more than happy. I'll knock you out and then let you sleep on my lounge if you want, just to keep you happy. But
I told you, mate, off air, mate. I'm
it's
broadcasting right now from Campbelltown, 2560. I'll be happy to come up with a tram, mate. Is it a tram or a train now? I'll come and give you the Bradbury elbow. I'll go home the same night. It's all right. Whatever
the
you need,
Bradbury
bro.
elbow, love it, mate. Yeah, we are the greatest tag team right here. But
whatever you need, mate. Like, look, it's a bit different when you do a podcast and you put your face out there. These guys are fake names. Like, is this their real names? Chief Rig?
Don't know. Yeah, it could be a fake photo too. I'd say he stole it off someone.
What's going on? Who are these people? I'd like to see what's in their birth certificates.
I'm about to go back at them on Twitter, so that'll take up a good portion of my next week, just mucking around with these guys.
Just tell me if it gets real, bro. Just let me know, all right?
Will do. But, mate, that's me. I'm going to enjoy a couple of weeks of football. I'm actually heading down. George Kambosos fighting down in Melbourne. Heading down there next weekend, so that will be pretty special. The taxpayers.
Okay, fair enough. Not a sponsor this time. All right.
No, not a sponsor this time. No, going down personally. So, but no, it should be fun. But I cannot wait, mate. Again, like I said at the start of the show, this is great Wednesday entertainment. Chatting with you, chatting some wrestling, rugby, love it, and can't wait to do it in 2 weeks. But listeners, if you've enjoyed it, please go to your podcast app, give us a 5-star rating, let us know what you think in the comments, and engage with us on social. We love it. We'll come back at you. And Curtis, pleasure, mate.
Peace.